I had originally reviewed Hey Arnold way back in 2013, and I mentioned in my original review that I was upset about the fact that after the show's cancellation, there were many plot threads that were left hanging. This included trying to discover the whereabouts of Arnold's parents and whether or not Arnold and Helga would become a couple. When I wrote the original review, it was unknown at the time if the Jungle movie would ever be made to wrap up those plot threads. So it was quite a pleasant surprise to me that in 2017, 4 years after I'd written the original review, that the Hey Arnold Jungle movie was finally made, and it managed to resolve most of the plot threads that were left hanging from the original series. With that being said, there will be some minor spoilers from the Jungle movie, but I won't go too much into detail about the Jungle movie since I wanted to do a separate review about the Jungle movie soon. The original review is still up on this channel if you want to see a more shortened review of this show. And now, without further ado, here's my revisited review of Hey Arnold. Caution! The following video is an in-depth review of the TV series I'm currently reviewing, which means that there will be massive spoilers in the review. If you haven't seen this TV series yet, then please feel free to watch this TV series first before watching this video. However, if you have already seen this TV series, or you just want to know my thoughts on this TV series, then keep watching. Hey Arnold was one of those Nicktoons that I just randomly stumbled upon, and it immediately became a surprise hit for me when I was a kid. As a kid growing up during the 1990s, I was a huge Nickelodeon fanatic, and I used to watch every Nicktoon under the sun, which included Rugrats, Doug, Kablam, The Angry Beavers, and Aura Monsters to name a few. Hey Arnold as a Nicktoon really stood out to me because it was one of the few Nicktoons at the time that delved into serious topics that was quite unheard of in children's television. But before I go into more detail about that, I would like to give out a brief summary on this series. The series is basically about the adventures of a young 4th grader boy named Arnold, who lives with his grandparents, Grandpa Phil and Grandma Gertrude, and is also best friends with Gerald. Among Arnold's classmates, there is a young girl named Helga Pataki, who is the toughest girl in school, constantly picks on Arnold, and unknown to anyone, is actually in love with Arnold. But she doesn't tell anyone, not even Arnold, this secret. The series also focuses on Arnold trying to solve various problems that he himself gets into and also his classmates gets into. Now, I had mentioned before that unlike most of the Nicktoons that aired at the time, Hey Arnold explored many topics that would be taboo for a younger audience. Over the entirety of the show's run, the show had covered topics like emotional abuse within a dysfunctional family, self-esteem issues, and even had one episode that dealt with the issue of being mugged. I love the fact that the show never really shied away from such issues, and presented them in the way that children will understand and help them cope with these issues if they were to get into such situations in real life. I was actually surprised by the mugging episode that they would show a child as young as Arnold, remember the original series he was only in the 4th grade, being mugged out in the streets. The episode also shows Arnold taking martial arts lessons from his grandmother in order to protect himself, and when he succeeded in his lessons, he ended up using those martial arts moves to beat up anyone who got in his way. It was quite impressive that a children's series like this would delve into the issue of being mugged in such a realistic way, and it was even more impressive that this episode showcased the consequences of what happens when you use techniques that were meant for self-defense in such an aggressive way. With all the tough themes that the show itself managed to go into, it's hard to imagine that it actually started out as a set of claymation shorts that appeared on Pee-wee's Playhouse of all shows. If you were to look at the original claymation shorts that appear on Pee-wee's Playhouse and then look at the series that aired on Nickelodeon, you'll notice that there's a stark difference between the two. The claymation shorts delve more into Arnold's expressive imagination and how he usually starts daydreaming as soon as the shorts start. While the TV series itself has Arnold show some aspects of being a daydreamer, especially in the earlier seasons, the show itself sort of downplayed this aspect of Arnold's character to make room for more straightforward storytelling. But hey, many pilots of animated shows turned out way differently from the finished product. I mean, look at the pilots for shows like As Told by Ginger, Rugrats, and The Angry Beavers, and you'll definitely see how different those pilots were from those shows. The fact that Hey Arnold started out as a set of shorts on Pee-wee's Playhouse is sort of like the Daria situation. Daria was a show that was spun off from Beavis and Butthead, and yet the series itself was much more serious and mature in tone than its parent series Beavis and Butthead was. The same thing a bit with Hey Arnold, as the shorts on Pee-wee's Playhouse were much wackier in tone than the actual TV series that showed up at Nickelodeon, which actually had lots of dramatic moments and character building. Probably the best part about this series was how it's handled its characters. In TV shows that has a school setting, you would have a small cast of characters that the show would focus on, and we would get to see the adventures that they get involved in from their point of view. However, in some of those cases, the show would introduce some classmates that the main characters would sometimes communicate with, and yet we barely get any stories that revolves around the classmates that are not a part of the main cast. Hey Arnold was different in that case, as not only did it focus on Arnold as a character, but it also focused on Arnold's various classmates such as Helga, Gerald, Stinky, Harold, Wanda, Phoebe, and Eugene to name a few. Each of Arnold's classmates got their own episodes that focus on them, and we get to learn more about Arnold's classmates and their relationship with Arnold through these episodes. Arnold has always been my most favorite character in the series, not just because he's the main character of the series, but because he's one of the nicest characters in the series. Arnold's the type of character who would try to solve his classmates' problems without batting an eye. It's great to have a character in the series who tries to look at the bright side of life, despite some of the cynicism that his classmates go through, especially Helga. Arnold's actions in the series is also good for the audience who are also going through similar problems that either Arnold or his classmates go through, as it makes the series so relatable to the audience. I like the fact that Arnold is not a vanilla protagonist, the type of protagonist who's so one-dimensional that it would be hard to relate to this character because he or she wouldn't have enough depth to flesh out their characters. Arnold is shown to have problems just like his classmates, such as getting bullied by Helga, trying to deal with the relationship problems, especially with his then love interest Lila, and at the time of the original series, being one of the few kids at school who didn't know where his parents were. What makes Arnold to such an interesting protagonist is the way he handles these issues in a calm and mature way that would be pretty difficult for any kid his age. Gerald's relationship with Arnold was probably one of the most natural relationships in the series, as Gerald seems to be one of the few characters who actually understands Arnold's kind nature. Even though Gerald can be considered Arnold's opposite in a way, as he's a bit more cynical than Arnold is, he still shares a bond with Arnold and is there for him whenever the situation gets bad. It was also nice that Gerald is usually the voice of reason for Arnold whenever Arnold gets too enthusiastic with his pursuits, as it shows that he has a type of big brother relationship with Arnold, as he is always looking out for Arnold. Probably the most interesting aspect of Gerald's character is that he is known for telling urban legends to the other kids, and I like this aspect of Gerald's character because I also love hearing urban legends and folktales in general, and it's great that the show occasionally focuses on the urban legends aspect of the series, as it makes the series much more interesting to watch. Helga Pataki is probably the most interesting character in the show because even though she constantly bullies Arnold, she actually has feelings for him, and it shows whenever she confesses her true feelings for Arnold when no one is looking. Out of all the characters in the series, I think that Helga probably has the most tragic backstory, as her backstory consists of nothing but emotional neglect from her parents. It was explained in the episode Helga on the Couch that the reason why Helga became a bully was because her parents had emotionally neglected her ever since she was young. Even on her first day of preschool, her parents failed to take her to school because they were paying too much attention to Olga, and Helga ended up going to school by herself. It's rare that we actually see the backstory of a bully within a TV series. Most of the time, some of the bullies portrayed on TV just seem to pick on people because they can. Helga's bullying Arnold and her classmates is much more complex, as we get to see that her family life is pretty horrible. Because she was emotionally neglected by her parents, she is lashing out at others because she doesn't know how to express herself emotionally, and often has trouble trying to tell people how she really feels, which is especially evident with her feelings for Arnold. I did like the fact that the reason why Helga has a crush on Arnold was because on the day that she had to go to preschool by herself, Arnold was the only one who was genuinely nice to her, and Helga never forgot that, which makes her crush on Arnold much more reasonable to handle. Going back to Helga's family life, it was quite daring for the show to tackle the issue of dysfunctional families and show it in a more serious light. Helga's father, Big Bob, is shown being verbally abusive to Helga and even forgets her name sometimes by calling her Olga. Meanwhile, Helga's mother, Miriam, is, according to Craig Bartlett himself, actually an alcoholic, and she usually spends most of her time sleeping around the house. Of course, the only way that the show was ever going to get away with Miriam being an alcoholic is if they show her being addicted to smoothies and just show the effects of alcoholism through her love for smoothies. Now, looking back at the scenes where Helga commonly talks back to her parents, is now looked at in a more serious light once you see the episode Helga on the Couch. Wow, what a way to make a running gag into something dark and serious. Now, I mentioned before in my original review of the series that I wanted the Jungle movie to be made because I wanted them to wrap up the plot lines that were left dangling when the show was cancelled. Yes, that became a reality in 2017 when the Jungle movie premiered, and now I don't have to wait anymore for these plot threads to be wrapped up. So, what else is there to talk about? Well, as of this video, there has been some rumors about a 6th season possibly being made, depending on how well the Jungle movie has done in the ratings. And who knows, probably by the time that I post this video up, there will probably be release dates or plans for the 6th season to premiere. But we'll have to wait and see if any of this is going to happen or not. For now, I would like to talk about what I want to see happen in the 6th season and what Craig Bartlett himself has stated about what could happen in the show if it gets a 6th season. One of the main things that creator Craig Bartlett has mentioned is that the 6th season will focus more on Arnold and Helga's relationship with each other and that their relationship will remain a secret. While I'm happy that Arnold and Helga are finally together, I think that it would be the right move to have their relationship to remain a secret, since it could help Arnold and Helga understand the nature of their relationship without all the other classmates getting in the way of their relationship. I can also understand about Helga not willing to show her true affections for Arnold in public because, as I discussed before, Helga has trouble letting people know her true feelings, and maybe this would give Arnold a chance to help Helga get through this and become more open to people about her emotions. I also hope that they resolve Helga's issues with her parents, as they were the root of most of Helga's emotional problems, and maybe now that she's in a relationship with Arnold, maybe she would be able to understand about how to express herself in a more positive way, and maybe try to mend her relationship with her parents and her sister Olga. Some other things that Craig Bartlett stated was that Susie and Oscar are going to be separated and that there will be more focus on Arnold's parents. I am interested in the idea about Susie and Oscar possibly splitting up because if you've seen the original series and noticed that they argue with each other a lot, then having them separate from each other would seem like the natural thing to do at this point. Even though I will miss these two being together despite their constant bickering, I am interested in seeing how they would cope with being separated from each other, and maybe this will affect them negatively or positively depending on where Craig Bartlett wants to take this. Also, this would be a good way to teach children about how to cope with parents being divorced or separated. I also like the idea about the 6th season possibly giving more focus on Arnold's parents. I don't want to go deeper into this, but I've always felt that Arnold's parents didn't have a lot to do in the Jungle movie. Having the 6th season would be a great way to tell more stories surrounding Arnold's parents and how they are trying to adjust living in the city life after being missing from society for so many years. Also, this would be a great opportunity for the storylines to go in a more mature direction, not for the heck of it, but because the characters are much older at this point, and therefore they would be facing situations that most preteens or teenagers would be going through. The original Hey Arnold series ran for 5 seasons with a total of 100 episodes. If a 6th season does get made, I will be reviewing that separately, since at this point the show will be completely different from the original series due to the television landscape changing over the years. Overall, I'm giving Hey Arnold a thumbs up. This was a truly memorable show that actually explored the issues that both children and adults face on a day-to-day basis, and shows the audience how to handle these problems properly. All of the characters were very well written, as they were both dramatic and hilarious at the same time, and they are also very relatable to the audience. I would highly recommend the series to fans who enjoy shows that deal with school drama and great character development. Hope you enjoyed my review of Hey Arnold.